Hi, guys. It's Charlotte from The Writable back with another writing question. And today's question is I started writing a story about a witch going to magic school. Awesome. But lots of people have said they couldn't get into it. And what am I doing wrong? Okay. There could be a lot of things, but essentially, because obviously I don't know this story, but when I think about what makes a story capturing to readers, you've only got, first you have to sell them in the first page. So you have to have a really good hook. And your hook is always going to be an everyday conflict that they have that also leaves your reader with questions, especially in something like this, a fantasy or an urban fantasy. Um, Starts leaving your reader with questions, and they start wanting to figure out the puzzle of this world that you've built. So the hook is always really important. First sentence, first paragraph, first page. Um, Introduce some of the flavor of the story, introducing some of that everyday conflict that's gonna act in a way to highlight the the overall conflict or the internal conflict that this character is going to face, as well as generating reader questions. And so really, I do find personally, I find hooks are the one of the areas where I spend a great deal of time really considering what that hook is going to be. And I often will write it later, or I'll maybe it's something that I like to finish the story before I really solidify what the hook is going to be. But when I'm coming up with it, I'm often thinking about, again, I'm thinking about that character's everyday life. I'm thinking about their everyday struggles, and I'm thinking about how I can throw the reader in mid crisis, mid, difficult challenge event that this character is going through. I want to just throw them in there, show them that I've got a complete world and a really interesting story and a really interesting character. And I'll let them, we always think that we need to explain everything to the readers, but a lot of times readers like to read because they like the puzzle that's there. So we don't need to worry about explaining everything. We need to make sure that we understand everything so that when we're painting the picture can be totally 100% congruent. It can all match together. So there may be an issue where the hook is we've got too much exposition at the beginning. We're not getting into the conflict. We're not getting into the action. We're not creating a lot of questions for the reader. And we're not getting the connection to the main character that we want. So it's possible that the hook is a little bit off. The other area that can be, so hook is most important to get them to keep reading and keep asking questions. But as we go through the first chunk, so the setup phase and then the inciting incident, we need to continue to show the reader that this is going to be an interesting story. This is a story you want to read. This is a story that is worth your time. And so in the setup, we're learning more about the character, we're learning about the world, and the same rules apply. We don't want exposition here. Even though we're introducing a lot of things, we want to show these things in the context of the character's actions, the context of the character's challenges, or the everyday conflicts that they face. So we're creating this complicated ball of what's going to happen next, what does this mean, what does this story element, how is this going to show up later. We're creating a bigger and bigger puzzle for the reader, essentially. And then we get to the inciting incident, and that inciting incident always has to be a least bad choice. So we've hopefully done enough to create curiosity in the reader, to create a connection to the main character, and all of a sudden we like twist we twist the knife And we get that character who we can see already has a lot of challenges, is already doing lots of stuff. They already are, they're always going to be surviving. They're struggling. They're just making it through. And we throw this wrench in there where all of a sudden we don't know how they're going to make it through. And then they end up in this least bad choice. They're going to have to do something that is unpleasant to them, and whatever genre it is, it's a different maybe flavor of unpleasant, but it's always something that is unpleasant. It's something they really don't want to do, except that they couldn't handle the consequences if they don't do it. And so my guess is there's something, when you've got a story that people just aren't getting into, we're not creating the curiosity. We are maybe, again, spending too much time in exposition, not enough time in action. And we are also maybe not putting enough conflict in. And we talk about a witch going to magic school. Does she want to go to magic school, or does she not want to go? That's going to change where we that's going to change where we put her actually going to magic school, where that's going to end up in the narrative. So if this is a story about her being at magic school and encountering some other problem, some other crisis, we might want to just start off with this hook is her first day or something like that, where she's doing something that she wants, and she's just facing sort of everyday conflict, everyday uncertainty. But if this is a story about her not wanting to go to magic school and being forced to go, all of a sudden we can put that, the summons to magic school at the inciting incident, but we need to make sure that she's got lots of stuff going on ahead of time. So again, without the specifics, I hope that that's helpful. That's generally how I think about writing the beginning of my book, to really get people engaged and really bring them into the story. And again, I hope that that's helpful. Right. If we have any other questions, you're always welcome to message me. I love answering these types of questions here. So please do so if there's anything you'd like to ask. And otherwise, have a fantastic day. Happy writing.